And so, as I said, today we're going to learn something which is connected to Simchat Torah, the end of the Torah, and the end of the Torah is always the beginning of the Torah. There is something which our sages says. I don't know if I would say it properly in translated properly in English, but our sages in Talmud says, "Akol olech achar achitum." Everything goes according to how it ends. The end defines everything. Okay? So if you want to know, the Rabbi used this a lot. When people ask the Rebbe question and people told the Rebbe, I have this thought and I have that thought. So the Rebbe said, look what's going to be the end game, the end result of either of the thoughts. If the end result of either of one of the thoughts is positive, it's something that will translate into a good action, then it's a good thought. And if, God forbid, it's the opposite, so then it's a bad thought, because the end of everything, the end... אני בשיעור, אני לא יכול לדבר עכשיו. נאווה, את לא תצליחי להריב איתו, פשוט תרגני לו משהו מעניין, תקראי לו ספר. אוקיי. So, הכל הולך אחר החיתום, and the Torah is the same. The Torah is also the same thing, right? So if we want to see the essence of the Torah, which we are now starting, Bereshit, bara Elokim, we start the Torah from the beginning, we can look at the end of the Torah to understand and to define what is the essence of the Torah. Now, this talk, which the Rebbe says, if I'm not mistaken, in 1987, it's very, very, very unique, very, very, very related to how the Rebbe leads us, the Jewish people of our generation. And it's also very, very, very innovative. Okay, it's a new approach in studying the Torah and understanding the Torah. So pay attention, because I'm sure you're gonna take a lot of energy and a lot of lessons from what we're gonna learn today. It's also gonna have implication on all of us, please God, Bezrat Hashem. Just want to dedicate this shiur to the success of my cousin Yonatan Michael Ben Yaakov Shlomo and his family, and Be'ezrat Hashem they will see good and only good, and betov anireh v'anegle, in a reveal goodness. Okay, let us start. It's actually from the class prepared for Parashat Kitisa, but again, as I said, it's related to the end of the Torah. So let's start with the scene of the golden calf, a topic which we have discovered a number of times, but it's worth discovering again and again and again, because there's so much that we can learn from that scene and from the answer and the way that Hashem and Moshe Rabbeinu dealt with that scene. Dr. Khenji, bevakasha.
When God finished speaking to Moshe on Mount Sinai, he gave him 2 tablets of the testimony. They were stone tablets written with God's finger. Moshe turned around and began going down the mountain with the 2 tablets of testimony in his hand. There were tablets written on both sides, with the writing visible from either side. The tablets were made by God and written with God's script engraved on the tablets. As he approached the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, he was angered, and he threw down the tablets that were in his hand, shattering them at the foot of the mountain.
Yeah. So that's, of course, it's a famous story of the scene of the golden calf. Now you ask yourself, how is it related to where we stand, right? Between Simchat Torah to the beginning of the Torah, like what's the connection? So surprisingly, it is mentioned at the very last 3 words of the Torah. So let's see, and source number 2, this is the last words of the Torah, where the Torah describes the death of Moshe Rabbeinu and the uniqueness of Moshe Rabbeinu and why there was no other prophet that is even similar to Moshe Rabbeinu. So let's see the word of the Torah in source number 2. Chenji, please.
No other prophet like Moshe has arisen in Israel, who knew God face to face. No one else could reproduce the signs and miracles that God let him display in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh and all his land, or any of the mighty acts or great sights that Moshe displayed before the eyes of all Israel.
So this is the text of the Torah. Rashi, the commentator, is coming to explain us, okay, what is the uniqueness that the Torah says? Like, what are the specialties of Moshe Rabbeinu? So he explains the follows. Let's.
Who knew God face to face? Moshe felt familiar with God, speaking with him whenever he wished.
So any other prophet, whenever God would reveal himself only when they were semi-conscious or either sleeping. Okay, some of the prophets, the Hashem revealed himself to them in their dreams, and others they were like having epileptic pit seizures, like they were not. No one spoke to God face to face, like with conscience. Only Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu felt familiar with God. Whenever he wanted, he had an open red line phone to speak to God. So this is the first thing that the Torah says. Then what's the second thing? What is the mighty act?
Any of the mighty acts. This refers to receiving the tablets in his hands.
Yeah, the great signs.
This refers to the miracles and wonders in the wilderness.
Okay, so all of these three specialties of Moshe Rabbeinu, okay, that makes sense, and that is maybe self-understood from the words of the Torah itself. But the last few words of the Torah, before the eyes of all Israel, comes Rashi to explain something very, very interesting. Let's see. This refers.
Before the eyes of all Israel. This refers to the incident where he was told to smash the tablets before their eyes, as it is said, I shattered them before your eyes. God approved. The verse states, the first tablets which you shattered, as the Talmud explains it, God said to Moshe, well done for shattering them.
Wow. Oh. So Moshe Rabbeinu, as we saw in the previous source number 1, Moshe Rabbeinu came down and he saw the golden calf and the dancing around the golden calf. So Moshe Rabbeinu took the tablets that God is giving him and he shattered them into pieces. And now, at the end of Moshe's lifetime, at the end of the Torah, Hashem says, well done for shattering them. And this is what the Rebbe is going to ask. That is a specialty of Moshe Rabbeinu, that he shattered the Torah. So the Torah needs to end with this quality. What goes on over here? But let's see how the Rebbe lays the question. Okay, the Rebbe.
The Torah concludes with the words, before the eyes of all Israel. Rashi explains, this refers to the incident where he was told to smash the tablets before their eyes, as it is said, I shattered them before your eyes. God approved. The verse states, the first tablets which you shattered, as the Talmud explains it, God said to Moshe, well done for shattering them. This is very bizarre. In this section, the Torah sings Moshe's praises. No other prophet like Moshe has arisen in Israel, who knew God face to face. No one else could reproduce the signs and miracles that God let him display in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh and all his land, or any of the mighty acts or great sights that Moshe displayed before the eyes of all Israel.
Yeah. Now it is self-understood that if you want to praise somebody, right? Okay, you're marking his birthday, or you're marking at someone's funeral. Okay, so you go and you start from something small, and then you go and you're higher and higher and higher, and another compliment and a higher compliment and a higher level of compliment. Okay, so
Yes.
now the notion, yeah.
The notion that the words before the eyes of all Israel is a reference to the breaking of the tablets. He was stirred to smash the tablets before their eyes, seems to be the very opposite of the literal understanding of the text, which speaks of Moshe's virtues. It is true that God approved of his decision to break the tablets, and he does deserve credit for sensing God's will. But we still do not view the actual breaking of the tablets as a positive occurrence. Why does Rashi understand the verse as a reference to the breaking of the tablets? From the perspective of Torah's literal meaning, other commentators seem more on track. As they explain it, before the eyes of all Israel has no independent meaning. It is merely a continuation of the preceding description of the mighty acts or great sights that Moshe did before the eyes of all Israel.
And as the Torah goes, right, from one compliment to a higher compliment to another compliment, let's see.
These final words come after a long litany of Moshe's feats. He knew God face to face. He was able to converse with God whenever he desired. He performed amazing miracles in Egypt. He did mighty acts, a reference to receiving the tablets. He showed great sights, a reference to the miracles he did in the desert. His greatest feat, the one listed at the very end, cannot possibly be his choice to break the tablets. That would indicate that not only was it a positive thing, but moreover, it was far greater than any of the miracles he did during the 40 years in the desert. It will be even greater than the fact that he received those very tablets. Could breaking the tablets be greater than receiving them? That is unthinkable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the question that the Rebbe lays, and again, this is what Rashi says, and usually people don't pay much of attention to these words because you read them on Simchat Torah, and on Simchat Torah people are they're more dancing than paying attention to the words. But the question that the Rebbe is asking, yeah, I understood that Moshe Rabbeinu did something positive, but can you say that breaking the tablet, this is the most compliment and the highest rank of achievement of Moshe Rabbeinu, that he has broken the tablet? What goes on over here? What is so great about breaking the tablets that the Torah takes the time at the last words in the Torah, where the Torah describes the greatness of Moshe Rabbeinu, to say, you know how great was Moshe Rabbeinu? So Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to God. Moshe Rabbeinu took the Jews out of Egypt. Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to Pharaoh. And Moshe Rabbeinu took the tablet and shattered them. What is the miracle about it? What is so great about it? Okay, so in order to understand it, we need to go back again to the story of breaking the tablets. Because right after Moshe Rabbeinu broke the tablet, so he ascended again on the mountain, and 40 days he asked Hashem to forgive Am Israel, because what Hashem wanted initially to do is to wipe out the Jewish nation and to restart a new nation for Moshe Rabbeinu. Said those guys are useless. Look at them. Just 40 days after, just 50 days after I take them out of Egypt, and I make those great wonders to them. Look at them. They are making those idols and dancing around the golden calf, saying, these are your gods, Israel. So I want to start anew from you. But Moshe Rabbeinu says, for 40 days, he's going back to heaven to convince Hashem to forgive the Jewish people. And he says to Hashem, if you won't forgive them, so erase my name from the Torah. Until Hashem is convinced, and Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu the big secret. And the big secret is the 13 attributes of mercy. And Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, whenever I am angry, you'll say those 14 attributes, Hashem, Hashem, Kel, Rachum, V'Chanun, what we say in Selichot, and then I'll forgive you. So Moshe Rabbeinu says those words, and Hashem forgives, and Moshe Rabbeinu comes down back to this wall. And then Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, now make yourself a second tablet. But this tablet, you will provide the stone, okay? And I will write the same text that was there in the first tablet. So the first tablet was godly made. The second tablet, where Moshe Rabbeinu brought the material, the stone, and God engraved on the tablets. So let's see, what does Rashi explain over there? First, let's see the source, and then see what Rashi explain why Moshe Rabbeinu needed to bring the second tablet out of his own and not God's gift like the first one. Let's see.
God said to Moshe, carve out 2 tablets for yourself, just like the first ones. I will write on those tablets the same words that were on the first tablets that you broke.
Yeah, so Rashi come to explain what's the difference. Why you need to bring the second tablet yourself, and Hashem is not gifting us and providing us the same that he did before. Yes, so what's the story?
Carve for yourself. You broke the first tablets, you carve out others for yourself. This is comparable to a king who went off to a faraway land and left his bride with the maidservants. The immoral behavior of the maidservants tarnished the betrothed reputation. A bridesman arose and tore up a marriage contract, saying, if the king decides to kill her, I will tell him she is not yet your wife. The king's investigation found that not only the maidservants had behaved immorally, he was reconciled with his bride. The bridesman said to the king, write her another marriage contract, for the first one was torn up. The king replied to him, you are the one who tore it up. You buy another paper for yourself, and I'll write it for her in my handwriting. The king is God, the maidservants are the mixed multitudes, the bridesman is Moshe, and God's betrothed is Israel. Therefore it says, carve for yourself.
You are the one who created the problem, so you're going to fix it. But only Moshe Rabbeinu, who knew and understood what is the Torah, knew and understood what is he breaking. You know, any other person who would hold on the tablets, the first tablet that we were gifted by God, he wouldn't understand what is he holding in his hands. Only Moshe Rabbeinu understood what is the importance of the tablet. But nevertheless, Moshe Rabbeinu saw that this might be of a future problem, so Moshe Rabbeinu broke the tablet. So now, when he comes to fix the problem, so Hashem says, and he asked Hashem to give us another marriage certificate. So now Hashem says, you carve it for yourself, you will bring the tablet. So now the Rebbe is going to elaborate and explain what exactly it's going on. What did Moshe Rabbeinu actually do when he broke the tablet? So let's see.
Moshe recognized the true purpose of Torah. The answer lies in Rashi's earlier comments, where he explains the reason for the breaking of the tablets. When God commands Moshe to fashion 2 new tablets, Rashi states, this is comparable to a king who went off to a faraway land and left his bride with his maidservants. The immoral behavior of the maidservants tarnished the betrothed reputation. Her bridesman arose and tore up a marriage contract, saying, if the king decides to kill her, I will tell him she is not yet your wife. The king is God, the maidservants are the mixed multitudes, the bridesman is Moshe, and God's betrothed is Israel.
Yeah, as we saw in Rashi explain. This explanation, yes.
This explanation could help us understand how Moshe could be praised for taking the initiative to break the tablets. To preface, Rashi's parable doesn't seem to explain why Moshe took the liberty to break the tablets. These tablets are a microcosm of the entire Torah. They were God's personal handiwork, as opposed to the second tablets which were fashioned by Moshe before being engraved to God. These tablets were fashioned by God himself.
right? So God crafted something and he gives it to Moshe Rabbeinu in order to give it to the Jewish people. Yet Moshe Rabbeinu take the liberty to take those tablets and to break them. This is what the Rebbe is asking. Now,
Moshe's entire identity was a Torah. He, no doubt, had a perfect understanding of Torah. So he was surely able to appreciate the sublime nature of the Torah, especially those first tablets fashioned by God himself. So the question must be asked, true, it is important to defend the Jewish people, but nonetheless, how could Moshe destroy the tablets that were fashioned and given to him by God himself?
And this is something that we lost, right? And we never got back. We got back the second tablet, but the second tablet was not God-made tablet. They were Moshe Rabbeinu's made tablets. Right? So that level of Torah, we never got back. And Moshe Rabbeinu, so yes, Moshe Rabbeinu needed to protect Am Israel. So but how come Moshe Rabbeinu takes those tablets and break them? They are the most precious thing ever created. The Torah, the entire Torah in a capsule, and Moshe Rabbeinu nevertheless take and breaks it. So now the Rebbe comes to explain, and that's a very good, that's a very general question. What is more important, the Torah or the Jews? Sometimes there is a conflict. And that conflict needs to be solved. What is more important, the Torah or the Jew? And that is the question that Moshe Rabbeinu was facing. And Moshe Rabbeinu had a very clear answer. And although Moshe Rabbeinu's entire essence and entire being was the Torah, right? Until today, we study the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu. The 5 books of Moshe. We don't say the 5 books of God. We say the 5 books of Moshe because every Moshe is Rabbeinu, our teacher. All the Torah, all the books that I have behind, and every word of Torah that every Jew in every generation is studying is Moshe Rabbeinu's Torah. So it's self-understood that it was entire Moshe Rabbeinu essence. But when it came the question of who is first, the Torah or the Jew, Moshe Rabbeinu had a clear-cut answer. And the Rebbe, when the Rebbe explained the next words that we're going to see, these words, the Rebbe, it took a long time because the Rebbe was crying a lot, and every few words the Rebbe couldn't breathe, and the Rebbe had to stop and say it again and again and again. Let's see what the words of the Rebbe.
The answer is that the people of Israel always come first. The entire purpose of the Torah, beginning with that first set of tablets, was for the sake of the people of Israel. As we read throughout the Torah, command the people of Israel, speak to the people of Israel. It is all about the Jewish people. Therefore, the moment their reputation was tarnished and they were harm's way, God forbid, Moshe didn't hesitate. He didn't consult with anyone, not even God, and he shattered the tablets that had been fashioned by God himself. The ultimate purpose of Torah is to uncover the essence of the Jewish people. So, in the event that the result might be the opposite, God forbid, and you are forced to choose between Torah and the Jewish people, there is no place for hesitation. Moshe immediately proceeded to break the tablets, the Torah, for the sake of the Jewish people.
Unbelievable. And these words are coming from the mouth of the Rebbe, who understands what is the Torah and also understands what is Moshe Rabbeinu. So he understands better than anyone else the conflict that Moshe Rabbeinu is standing in front. But nevertheless, the answer is clear-cut. The Jew comes first. The Torah is to reveal the essence of a Jew. But if the essence of the Jew will be lost, God forbid, because of the Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu breaks the tablet. Not just tablet, God's tablet. Moshe Rabbeinu takes and breaks them. And now the Rebbe goes on even on a higher level. Because who was Moshe Rabbeinu protecting? Right? The Erev, the multitude. Who was the one who convincing the Jews to sin in the golden calf? The multitude. So it's not even the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Those are the people who joined. But nevertheless, Moshe Rabbeinu is willing to sacrifice the Torah even for a sinner, not for those with the long white beard. Even for somebody who sins, he comes first. Let's see it in the words of the Rebbe.
Moreover, the breaking of the tablets was worthwhile even to save just a small portion of the people of Israel, the most immoral among them, those who transgress with a golden calf. The idea that someone's good name could be tarnished is only relevant among human beings who make mistakes. God knew all along that the real debauchery was only amongst the maidservant, the mixed multitude, as he told Moshe clearly when he instructed him to go down the mountain and deal with the issue. Moshe too, the true shepherd of Israel, knew that the people of Israel were incapable of fashioning a golden calf. The minority who did reach that state did so only under the influence of the maidservants, the mixed multitudes.
And thus,
the incident posed no danger to the entire people of Israel, God forbid, but only to the small minority who sinned with the golden calf. Nonetheless, to defend the small minority who sinned and to ensure that they will be welcomed back into the fold, Moshe didn't hesitate to break the tablets.
And now we'll go to source number 4, where there is a question, that question of who comes first, the Torah or the Jews, is actually an old question. The Midrash is asking the question. Let's see it as it's quoted in Sefer HaMa'amarim Tafshin by the previous Rebbe.
Two things preceded the creation of the world, Torah and the people of Israel. Who came first? The Torah contains references to the people of Israel, command the people of Israel, speak to the people of Israel. Clearly, the people of Israel came first.
Right? Because the entire Torah speaks about the people of Israel. So the entire Torah is for the people of Israel who were there before, because you need to command them. And now the Rebbe takes the final notes to explain us as why the Torah concludes the words, the last 3 words of the Torah, by speaking about the biggest achievement and the biggest quality of Moshe Rabbeinu and the biggest virtue of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is that understanding and sacrificing the Torah, the tablets of God, for the lost and last Jew. Let's see.
So, the breaking of the tablets demonstrate a great virtue in Moshe, and in fact his greatest virtue of all. After Torah lists the amazing feats of Moshe, speaking to God face to face, performing the miracles in Egypt, receiving the Torah, and more miracles throughout their sojourn in the desert, the Torah concludes with the greatest virtue of all. For the sake of the Jewish people, he didn't hesitate to break the tablets. A greater virtue than all the amazing feats he accomplished, including the fact that he received the very same Torah.
Because what is the greatest virtue of Moshe Rabbeinu? He was the shepherd of every Jew, the leader of not just the Jewish people, but of me and you, regardless of where we are, what we are doing, where we are holding. Every individual, it was the most treasures and precious thing by Moshe Rabbeinu, even more than the Torah itself. The Rebbe continues.
The greatest achievement of Moshe, the faithful shepherd of Israel, was that he jeopardized his entire identity, the Torah, to defend a small portion of his flock, the people of Israel who had fallen into sin. The Torah is Moshe's essence, yet he didn't hesitate to break the precious tablets which were fashioned by God himself to defend those who had transgressed with the golden calf. This is a true virtue of a Jewish leader. He recognizes the essential value in his people, which supersedes the Torah, and is therefore ready to break the tablets for their sake.
And the Rebbe continues, this is greater than all other virtues of Moshe Rabbeinu. Why?
All the other feats were accomplished with talents that were given to him by God. As the Alter Rebbe explained, Moshe humbly felt that if God would have given those talents to someone else, he would have executed the task more ably. But the decision to break the tablet didn't come from a God-given power. It was his own idea and God approved of it.
This was Moshe Rabbeinu's made philosophy. This is not something that was given as a gift to him. And therefore, Hashem has to agree with it. But this is only after Moshe Rabbeinu has done it, because when there was a danger, instinctively, Moshe Rabbeinu preferred the Jew over the tablets. And the Rebbe concludes,
breaking the tablets to defend the people of Israel is the greatest expression of Moshe's love for his fellow Jew. Moshe was a lover of Israel, the Talmud says. He didn't hesitate and immediately shattered the tablets to protect his people. Moshe did this act before the eyes of all Israel. They all witnessed how he broke it to teach us the importance of loving our fellow. He endeavored to implant within us a true sense of Ahavat Israel.
And this is why when we finish and we're concluding the Torah, when a student has reached the highest level, he knows the entire Torah. The Torah tells us, you want to be like Moshe Rabbeinu? Everything you learned is there to help and to serve another Jew. The greatest achievement of all, it's not even an achievement, that's the essence of the entire Torah, is to love another Jew. And if God forbid the Torah doesn't get you into a level of, to a higher level of loving another Jew, you don't learn Moshe's Torah. You have some different ideas and different ideology. This is not Moshe Rabbeinu's Torah. Because in Moshe Rabbeinu's Torah, a Jew comes first. And as I said in the beginning, the end tells you the whole story of everything before. So we learn the whole Torah and we complete the whole Torah. And when we complete the whole Torah, just before we start anew, just before we start Bereshit bara Elokim, Hashem tells us, listen, I approved what Moshe Rabbeinu did. Moshe Rabbeinu did it on his own. He didn't consult with anyone. He did not even consult with God. And he broken everything, right? The entire Torah. But I approve what Moshe Rabbeinu did. And this is before we start the Torah, before we restart the Torah from the beginning, Bereshit bara Elokim, this is something that we need to have in mind. That the entire essence of ours should be to help and to save another Jew. The Baal Shem Tov says that the soul can come down to this world for 70, 80 years just to do a favor for another person. Imagine, I'm not 70, I'm not 80, I'm not even half of it. But a person can wander in this world, and wandering in this world and being in this world sometimes is not an easy feat. This entire experience, it's only for one, could be only for one scenario of a ability to perform an act of love and kindness to another Jew. And this is what the Torah want to tell us at the very end and the very beginning of the new cycle, of a new level of the Torah. And every year, we learn it again. Because every year, we don't learn the same Torah of last year. There is I think I told you, there was a rabbi who passed away last year or 2 years ago, Rabbi Steinsaltz. It's a great Torah scholar. And Rabbi Steinsaltz was asked by one of his students. He said, Rabbi, the prayer is the words of the prayer needs to have an influence of us, an emotional influence, and to have an effect on us that we will want to bond with God and elevate ourselves. But every day we say the same text. So how can it be that a text I say every day for 20, 30, 40 years will have this effect on me? I got used to the words already. The same words, how can they have the effect? So Rabbi Even Israel said to the students, you're right. It is true that the word of the prayer remains the same. But you are a new person today. And if you are not a new person today, you are the one who is boring, not the words of the prayer. So when we start a new cycle of Torah, we don't learn the same Torah, right? It's not that I repeat something that's a new level, but that doesn't need to end there. When we have a new level of Torah, that needs to have an impact of a new level of Ahavat Israel within us. And this is what the Torah says in the last words on Moshe Rabbeinu. The last action of Moshe Rabbeinu, the last remarks on Moshe Rabbeinu, which the Torah says, was the remark of Ahavat Israel that Moshe Rabbeinu has. We've spoken in the past on the idea that Moshe Rabbeinu prayed 515 prayers that in order to be able to go to the land of Israel. And Rashi explains that one more prayer, and Hashem would listen to him, and Hashem would allow him to go to the land of Israel. So the Rebbe asked, if so, Moshe Rabbeinu obviously knew that one more prayer and he could go in, so why didn't he pray this one prayer? So the Rebbe said that Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to remain with his people. His people, the people whom if he led, they remain in the desert, right? Because of the spies, the sin of the spies. So all the generation who came out of Egypt, they die in the desert. And Moshe Rabbeinu said to his people, I'm not leaving you behind. Regardless, despite of all the Moshe Rabbeinu's desire to go to the land of Israel was a true desire. It was also a spiritual desire, because the Torah said, the Talmud says that all the actions of Moshe Rabbeinu were permanent. So if Moshe Rabbeinu would have conquered the land of Israel and would have bring the Jews to Israel, it would be a permanent thing, and the Jews will never be exiled from Israel. But nevertheless, Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't leave his people behind. Why? Because he loves them. He's a true shepherd. He loves them and he cares for them more than he loves and he cares of himself. Obviously, that's every leader, but even more than he loves and he cares about the Torah. And we, the students of Moshe Rabbeinu, right? We are the students of Moshe Rabbeinu. We say Moshe Rabbeinu is our teacher. We need to follow his way. And who is greater in performing it and in actually doing it than our Rebbe himself? Only our Rebbe could say these words, because our Rebbe have actually performed it. The hours on hours upon hours that the Rebbe stands and the Rebbe spends with people, and the love that the Rebbe had for every Jew, and the Rebbe in his late 80s, standing on his feet for 6 hours, 7 hours, giving another blessing and speaking to another child and encouraging another person and another woman and another girl. This is a performance of true Ahavat Israel. So Bezrat Hashem, when we begin the Torah, we need to have this approach to all of our study of Torah. And we need to have this in mind, that whatever we study have to have a real implication and real translation on our Ahavat Israel. Thank you very, very much. I'm sure this is a very powerful lesson, and Be'ezrat Hashem, I hope that I myself will be able to implement at least some of it into my life. And